Welcome, everybody, to the Anime Lounge podcast. I'm Matt, one of your co-hosts. I discuss the differences between the manga and anime in Matt's manga mentions. So everybody knows, I took 6 pages of notes. Like there is quite a bit of, I wouldn't say changes, but there's a lot of things that were left out as far as the anime is concerned.
And I'm Lance, your other co-host. I walk you through Lance's lessons, where I teach you a Japanese word related to each and every episode. Today's Lance's lessons is going to be the Japanese word for fox, and that is kitsune.
Join us and immerse yourself as we explore the world of anime.
Don't forget to drop by the lounge every other week. Again, that's Anime Lounge Podcast.
This is RangerCast, Episode 10, Talking Tokusatsu with Mike Dent, recorded Monday, January 2nd, 2023. In this episode, hints of new toys to come, talk about new comics, and a safe harbor for Furbus. All right, this is RangerCast. As always, I'm Tyler, better known as Real Volto. I have Lamar with me. Hey, Lamar.
Hey, happy to be back.
And we also have a special guest with us today. His name is Mike Dent. Mike is an old friend and used to co-host RangerCast once upon a time, way back in the day. He is a voice actor who you can hear in projects like Welcome to Demon School, Iruma-kun, and Pokemon Masters. He's a writer, graphic designer. You may remember his podcast, R5 Central, from way back when, or his short run with the Friday Ace podcast for Otaku USA magazine. Back in 2014, he co-founded the Tokusatsu Network, a news website we still rely on today. More recently, he's the creator of the YouTube channel Vintage Henshin, and he contributed materials to Discotek's releases of Space Sheriff Gavan and Kamen Rider Black. And he was the director of Shout Factory's award-winning 55th Anniversary Ultraman Day virtual event in 2021. Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Yeah, it's kind of a bit of a mouthful, that intro here. Hey, everybody.
Yeah, and we'll be asking, Mike, some questions later on in the show. So we're going to get into our news. Obviously, it's been a few weeks since we've been able to have a regular sounding show since the holiday hiatus, and it being a rough last few weeks in the fandom. But we're going to try to give you as normal a show as possible. Anywho, Cosmic Fury wrapped a few weeks ago, shooting in New Zealand. We still don't know exact details of what's coming next beyond the fact there's a 30th anniversary special, there's Cosmic Fury, and then big old question mark, especially with the pending sale of Entertainment One. All we know, really, they've been pretty tight-lipped. All we know was that Abraham Rodriguez was down in Auckland, and in terms of cameos that may turn up during the season, we don't really have anything more than that.
Yeah, the wait for that's going to be. I would say that the wait for that is definitely going to be killer.
Yeah. I don't think we know when Cosmic Fury is supposed to be on Netflix. I know it's supposed to be maybe sometime after the 30th anniversary special. That's really all we got.
Mm.
And in other news, Melissa Flores' first issues with the comics are out. I was talking to Mike pre-show. He hasn't read them. Lamar, have you checked them out yet?
No, I have not yet. Honestly, I've been waiting for a Boom comic sale, and I was like, okay, well, they've got to have one for Cyber Monday. They got to have one for, and they just keep not having sales. It's like, geez. I have a wife and child, so I can't, drop $50 on to get caught up. So
yeah, her arc hits the ground running. The Rangers get a distress call from Lord Zed and arrive to the moon to find Goldar running scared, and Rita has returned, calling herself Mistress Vile. So that's exciting. And also in comic news, there's going to be another mini-series crossing over the Ninja Turtles. Is going to be written by Ryan Parrott. We got a preview of the new comics middle of December, and the first issue is already on store shelves near you. The new series takes place several months after the original team-up in which the Rangers and Turtles defeated Rita and Shredder, and the new threat forces them to team up once more. And you can see preview pages from that issue, from that first issue, I should say, on our website, rangercast.net. This crossover isn't for me, but apparently they're for some people.
Yeah, I mean, it's bringing two things together. It's hitting those nostalgia buttons. So, I mean, if they're going to keep going, I mean, it's doing well. So,
yeah, I mean, they had already done one, which I read. It wasn't the greatest, but it also wasn't terrible. I'm curious if this one's going to be in continuity with that. I'm also curious to see if these crossovers, are they going to continue doing them? Because I know they did one with Godzilla. I know they've done one with Justice League. You know, Marvel used to have the rights to Power Rangers comics. Maybe they would do an Avengers one. I don't know.
Well, Marvel used to have the rights to Power Rangers comics, like way back in the, 95 or something like that, right?
Something like that, I think.
The
Wikipedia.
Yeah. So also we have a not exactly a leak. It's more like something found in the wild. A French language Twitter user discovered. I don't know if they're French or Canadian. Discovered. Oh yeah, they're French. Check their profile. Look at the location. Yeah, French Canadian. Found in the wild a Lightning Collection remastered figure of the Blue Ranger with the power lance and a new effects piece. Not sure if there's a unmorphed head included, but it looks like a step up in quality from the existing Lightning Collection release. Better paintwork, all that. Don't know the first thing about price point or when this would be available, at a store near you. But we see a glimpse on the box art of the 30th anniversary logo, though we still don't have a clean version of that logo anywhere.
Like, you think we would have gotten like a sizzle reel or something by now?
Yeah. But it's possible these toys, if I'm just spitballing here, we could hear more around the time they're ready to talk more about the special, about Once and Always, when they're ready to actually come out and say, it's going to be, out in April or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they might be playing it close to the chest because they might need to make edits and changes. Obviously there's been a few things that have changed kind of long-term what Power Rangers can do. And so rewrites might need to happen.
Yeah. Speaking of changes, the box art for the upcoming Deca Ranger box set from Shout Factory has mostly been fixed.
You're welcome.
That was you?
I had a hand in that, yeah. So I can't say too much else, but I had a hand in that. That's my one of my little contributions.
Yeah, to bring people up to speed, when the first images of the box set appeared, fans noticed that not only was the portrait of the team from a publicity shoot for SPD, for Power Rangers SPD, but every single one of the 4 photos at the bottom of the box was specifically from Power Rangers SPD, or even like Disney promo art. Like, there was seriously a photo of Grum on the box, which, come on. And the SPD publicity shot is still front and center on the box, but that's something I honestly, whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, that was one of those things. It's like, oh wait, people are talking about this, and then I kind of just did some nudging. But let that be my good deed, my first good deed of 2023.
How did that happen though?
I can't really go into details too much
Okay,
about
fair
that.
enough,
Yeah,
fair enough.
there's some stuff above pay grade, so I can't really go into it. But yeah,
I
but suffice to say,
yeah. I know Brian Ward has said that he's at Toei's mercy. They send him what they send him.
right.
So that's why sometimes the art or the image choice has been questionable, because there is no choice.
Yeah.
They get what they get.
So yeah, and that goes, across the board usually. Which we'll talk more about that later with with dealing with Discotech, because you're able to have a little more leeway there. But yeah. But yeah, that's I guess I remember when that whole thing just unfolded, and I'm like, okay, let's do something about this. Yeah.
Yeah. And in other news, Amy Jo Johnson, who's transitioned to becoming, a reasonably well-known writer and director, she had a script titled "What We Become" land on what's known in Hollywood as the Blacklist, which is the list of Hollywood's most liked unproduced screenplays. I don't know what it's What We Become is about, but the Blacklist. There's been a number of screenplays on there that have actually been produced and have done very well, have gotten Oscars, and hopefully getting noticed leads to it being picked up. She's had a few movies being made, not necessarily big, theatrical releases, but ones that have done pretty well on the festival circuit, like Tammy's Always Dying. And
oh no, I'm just looking at this list right now, holy hell.
Yeah, and it's ones from reasonably well-known screenwriters on the list. I haven't actually looked at the the full list for this year myself, but like I said, they're it's not despite the name, it's not where screenplays go to die.
Yeah. Oh no, it's very much this is the stuff that people are looking for. If something's being shopped around and it's looking to be a hot ticket, this is where it ends up. So for her to get up on there, that is amazing.
It's the Tuesday morning of of where to find scripts.
I like that description.
And in other news that may or may not be relevant to Power Rangers' future, Auckland Film Studios has opened 2 additional stages. This is where Cosmic Fury shot, and where some of Ninja Storm was shot, and I think the White Dino, the ATV chase in Dino Thunder was shot. Auckland is really growing as a destination for filming. What we don't know is whether Power Rangers will go back there under Jonathan Entwistle. And they added 2,000. Excuse me, I need to say this in American. 22,000 square feet studios. Two of those, and they now have 5 stages totaling more than 80,700 square feet. That's according to Variety. The project took a year and it was made possible with 30 million New Zealand dollars of funding from the New Zealand federal government, with the remaining 7.5 million New Zealand dollars from Auckland Council, which is local government. And the mayor, Wayne Brown, joined the federal minister for arts, culture, and heritage in opening the 2 new stages at a ceremony in early December.
That's wonderful.
Avatar: The Way of Water was shot in Auckland. The Rings of Power was shot in Auckland. Sweet Tooth was shot in Auckland. The Meg, they're doing big business there, and it's only going to get bigger, which is great for all the a lot of the same actors who work on Power Rangers will, next thing you know, they'll be working on Avatar, Rings of Power, or whatever. So, good for them. Go get that money.
Sweet.
And now for something completely different.
Oh God. Here we go.
YouTuber Robert Wang was actually brave enough and had the money, apparently, when we in the fandom noticed the original mask for Ferbus from Masked Rider on eBay, he and a couple friends bought it to the tune of $999. This is a thing that needed to be in safe hands. It's a piece of television history.
It is. Yeah, let's address this because it was so funny because when he posted about it, like I'm looking at this, I'm like, SR Flubber's totally gonna throw money at this. SR Flubber's just gonna buy it. It's gonna happen. Like I don't know how, but he's gonna get it. And sure enough, he was one of the names that came up when he announced to procure it. And I'm like, you monster. But I love this. I mean, it's this, and then there's like that one like Power Ranger monster suit from it's from Mega Ranger too. That somehow was surviving and is in someone's kitchen for years. Like these weird auctions that pop up. Also,
Ferb, it looks great. It looks great despite all this time.
I mean, that's probably for the best because you don't want it staring into your soul. Yeah, holy hell, that's amazing.
Ferbus got lucky, but we still got to look at Ferbus.
Hey,
Yeah. At least he's not, causing any problems for Dex or that,
He caused problems from my childhood, though. I'll tell you what. Anyway,
But speaking of, I need to stop with these segues. They're so forced. Another thing available out there on the intertubes that you actually can buy, the Ferbus is already spoken for, is we have a new Lightning Collection Amazon exclusive, another 5-pack like the Psycho Rangers. This time it is the Alien Rangers, and it's not cheap. The set costs $120.99 and will be out in June of 2023. I guess it doesn't really make sense to release them individually because I don't think there's demand for that. But as a set, I think that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's definitely. I wouldn't say it's an obscure pick, but it's still like. I mean, I get it, but like, what is it gonna have in terms of like accessories and stuff? Like, is it gonna just have swords? Is it gonna have the guns?
Yes.
Is it gonna?
Yeah, basic.
It's listed. Yeah, they've got swords, guns, effect pieces, and oh gosh, one thing they did that was actually really neat is that they're all like slightly different heights to kind of match the actors' heights.
Good.
Yeah, I think we went over this when we first learned that the set was a possibility, but the box art has them on Aquitar. They're a really nice touch.
Oh man, now they could just well, I mean, I feel like this might be a testing ground too, because like I mean, they already did Psycho, they already did this, but it's like if with this, it's like okay, if people are going to shell out this much for full team Ranger sets, what other weird stuff could we do? And I'm just like, if you could do it so that way that you could get like the in space set, because I wasn't able to get them individually. Could you just do that so I could have like a Mega Ranger set so I could put it on my desk? Maybe, please Hasbro, please, thank you. I mean, who said that?
And they're always looking at reusing molds somehow. Like they could take another bite at the apple with, one of those other teams by putting out a 5-pack set that might include different effect pieces than the original release. I know that's what they did with the Psychos, which were already 2 of those were already like out there in the wild, in a 2-pack or something like that. But also in terms of giving Hasbro money, there's a new Zord Ascension Project logo out that was first spotted at an event in Brazil, and it is modeled after and features heavily the Tiger Zord. So that's a hint at what we might be getting after the Astro Megazord. I'm looking forward to that. I know there was the Legacy Tiger Zord, but that has obviously been out of stock and it's a collector's item already for ages now.
Right.
Yeah, well, and if they're doing the Tiger Zord, that means that by extension they have to be doing the Thunder Megazord as well, which is one that I mean, that one's got to be gorgeous. Hopefully, it's solid when they do it. But yeah,
I missed out on the Tiger Zord, but I do have the Legacy Thunder Megazord on my shelf. It's still really nice and it still holds together. But I guess my issue with the Legacy things is like if there are parts you're not using, like for example the swords that the Red Shogun Zord used, or the staff that the Red Dragon Thunderzord had, and if you have it in a different configuration, I guess kind of like parts of action figures, you got to figure out somewhere to put all that stuff.
This is why they need to just take a hint from Bandai and just have like these like nice display stages where you can just put everything, because like that's what Soul Chogokin has done for a while. I mean, they don't do it for every toy now, which is kind of depressing, but you can like just have those stages where it's like, okay, cool, I can just have the swords jutting out and make it look like it's in like a hangar bay or something.
Yeah. And also, as we finish up our news block, we got a few more things to go through, but remember that Shin Ultraman hits theaters through Fathom Events. There's the subbed version on January 11th and the dubbed version on January 12th. And it's really special that we're getting this chance to watch that in theaters.
Yeah, it took us a little while to get there, but the dub cast is looking pretty good.
Haven't they done lately? Don't they usually do the dubs through William Winkler?
Well, yeah, that changed. The short version is that up until the Ginga S movie, or no, up until X, actually, the Ultraman X movie, William Winkler was doing. They went from producing it, outsourcing it out to Los Angeles, to just going to Japan and having all expats.
Oh, the Shenmue strategy.
Pretty much. As far as I know, they haven't done like any remote stuff. In this case, I believe the dub for Shin was done in America.
Yeah, Okratron 5000 is credited, according to Anime News Network, as one of the companies with Kocha Sound, Japan-based Kocha Sound, that worked on the dub. Kocha Sound also worked on ADR production for Flying Phantom Ship, which used an American cast, I believe, through Sound Cadence. See, I don't know why I was at a Discotech panel. That's why I know that.
Yeah. Which, by the way, go pick up that release. It's really wonderful.
Yeah. They've also done Made in Abyss, Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc V, and the dub for Shin Ultraman includes Chris Hackney, Brandon McGinnis, Don M. Bennett, and Matt Shipman, Jim Ferronda, but mostly people whose names I've never heard in my life.
Yeah, Brandon McGinnis was one of the cast for Gridman, actually. So it's a nice little full circle there.
And also we'd like to. We started doing this before everything went haywire, but we'd like to also highlight a post of the week from our friends at r/Power Rangers.
Oh boy.
The user Power Protect U, that's the letter U, is working on upscaling and remastering episodes of Power Rangers. Not, for a release, because that would be illegal, but just kind of show what he can do. And he's using like footage sourced from the Jew Ranger DVDs, and I presume maybe AI upscalings or something of the original source footage.
Right.
And it looks really nice. Sometimes the changes are almost imperceptible because DVD or no, you're working with footage from 30 years ago. But it's an interesting experiment, and even if actually upscaling the show to HD in a manner similar to like Star Trek Next Generation isn't really possible.
Yeah.
It's an interesting proof of concept about what could be done with these shows in the future.
Right. Yeah, it would be really nice if they did something in terms of the preservation efforts for this, because, I mean, too many shows have just been left to rot, and I've just haven't been able to do a whole lot with them. And like, thankfully things have changed, but still.
Yeah, I think it comes down to the availability of the original materials. And with something like Power Rangers, that gets very complicated because of the way those original materials were used, and also the fact that a lot of things you need, and we're learning now from Simon Bennett and others, a lot of things that you would theoretically need to remaster these old shows in any way, those materials don't exist.
Yeah.
And it brings us to one more thing in a news block before we go to break, and it's very, very, very sad news. Ichiro Mizuki, the most legendary figure in anime music, Aniki, he was called Big Brother by his peers and by fans, has died after a battle with lung cancer. He was 74. He had a long, long, long association with Sentai, going back to Jaka. He also did songs for various Tokusatsu series and lots of anime, particularly mecha anime. He was most identified with Mazinger Z. He also did a lot of songs for Kamen Rider, going back to V3. He also did songs for Inazuman, Kagestar, Kanketsu Zubat, Metalder. He acted in Voice Slugger. He did the theme for Daitetsujin 1-7. I saw him perform live back in 2009, and I will never forget him emerging through machine fog and busting out Daitetsujin, and God, that was incredible. And
one of his best ones too. Oh my goodness.
Stage presence, doesn't begin to describe to you what
I mean, where do I begin?
What explain to somebody who doesn't know who he is what he meant.
Okay, it's like I mean, when David Bowie died, it's on that level, the man is a literal legend, and we've abused that term so much these days, and how we just abused epic, and I actually know I was part of that problem, but legend even then still doesn't feel appropriate for him. I mean, the vocal power, just the gravitas, his range. He could do something really silly and really funny, like a Kamen Rider Christmas, and then suddenly you get Captain Harlock, where it's just this big sweeping, almost opera type tone, which is one of my favorite songs of his to belt out at karaoke. I get choked up, and as an actor and as someone who does sing on occasion, I mean, my voice isn't winning awards or anything, but dude is an inspiration. And when he passed away, I ended up doing a tribute stream on Twitch, and there was just a point where I didn't want to just take breaks between every song. I wanted to go through it. And I wanted to do it justice. But when we hit Captain Harlock, I was like, okay, I need to take a break and I need to bring my A game. And I hope I did him justice. And it's just so weird to be in a world without him, because I wish he was just still working. And yeah, I just hate how he went out.
He co-founded Jam Project, and that means a lot to me because I've had so many great experiences going to Jam Project shows. Granted, long after he left the group.
Yeah.
But like Kageyama Hironobu, he sort of got into this business by accident. He recorded a song in 1971 that happened to be used as the opening theme for the anime Genshi Shonen Ryu, and then, as one does, he got into this for a living and recorded hundreds and hundreds of songs for many, many, many different shows, mostly mecha, but other genres too.
Yeah. And
he worked closely with Mitsuko Horie and Kageyama. And he was he you don't not earn, a title like Aniki.
Yeah.
Even when he got sick, and he probably knew he was going to die.
Yeah.
He said he never, ever, ever retired. At his last show, which was just days before his death, even though he's in a wheelchair on stage,
yeah,
he declared that he would never retire, and in fact was planning to celebrate his 50th anniversary.
Yeah, I won't be surprised if there's a tribute concert or something that'll happen within the next couple of months. I mean, absolutely. I mean, at the very least, I know the Choei Yusai, the big live show that they do for Rider and Sentai every year. There's gonna be a tribute, and I'm gonna probably ugly cry because it's going to happen and I'm not going to be ready for it. I mean, what else can you say?
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, because it's just words alone don't do it justice. I encourage anyone out there, just, whether you're a diehard anime or a Tokusatsu fan or just whatever, just look up his music, listen to it. Again, find the theme to Captain Harlock, and it will change your life.
And I think especially the way that music and anime is handled now, with an emphasis more on, trendy pop songs as intros, I don't think there's going to be anybody like him again.
Mm.
And, the Akira Kushidas of the world are what we have left.
Yeah, and that's the tragedy, because it's like within the span of a year, I mean, God, we lost him, we lost Shinsuke Kikuchi, we lost Shime Watanabe. I'm still reeling from that one. He was one of the most prolific composers, and so losing him and Aniki in the same year was just a whirlwind hit for me. And Kikuchi, who also was like the composer for Dragon Ball, also the composer for Kamen Rider, for like the early Showa era, Mazinger Z, just yeah, it's like three of the biggest names associated with Mazinger Z all end up buying it the year before the 50th anniversary. That is like a double kidney punch if there ever was one.
But I guess if there's an upside, it's that even if he never publicly admitted that, that his time was up, I feel like at all the concerts between when he got sick and now, his peers and his fans were able to let him know how much they appreciated him.
Yeah. I still have his autograph in the hallway.
You have his what now?
When Patrick Macias interviewed Ichiro Mizuki for Otaku USA back in the day, I think I submitted a question or two for that interview, but he got Ichiro Mizuki's autograph from me. And he did like a little Kamen Rider sketch too, and it's like Aniki does that. If you go to my Instagram page, you'll see it. But cool. I've looked at that in my hallway for the past like 2 years. I hadn't really looked at it after he passed, but like when I looked at it like I think a couple days ago, it just sort of sank in, and I really wish I'd been able to meet him, but oh my God, yeah, he just end of an era. As far as I'm concerned, end of a friggin' era.
Yeah, there's never going to be anybody like him again. He was just absolutely one of a kind. So I understand, Lamar, you got to hop off, right?
Yep.
All right.
Got plenty to take care of, but hey, it was great seeing you guys, and looking forward to the future.
Yeah, and we're going to take a break. When we come back, we have more with Mike Dent.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Mason.
This is the Dads Are Dorks podcast. As you can tell from the title, we're dads and dorks. Join us as we traverse the multiverse of nerd culture as fathers.
We're going to bring on our friends and guests to come hang out with us.
And as the Dungeon Master, we'll also be playing games like Who Said It, Batman, or Macho Man Randy Savage. That's right, so make sure you hit that subscribe button today so you never miss an episode. You can find the Dads Are Dorks podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
My nephew, like the Power Rangers. And I did this on his birthday where he had all his friends around. They were like, Green Ranger. I said, let me show you the real Sentai. I'm going to show you the episode where Green Ranger actually died. And they were sitting there looking. A couple kids start crying like, no, Green Ranger can't be daddy. And the parents were like, why are you showing our kids?
The Anime World Order podcast.
Not suitable for children because the truth hurts.
Visit us online at www.animeworldorder.com.
All right, as promised at the top of the show, we have Mike Dent with us still, and we wanted to talk to him, about his history in the fandom, and his amazing chance to get involved with some of these official releases of shows like Gavan and Kamen Rider Black, and about the path that Tokusatsu has taken in terms of being publicly available and all that. So. First off, Mike, Why don't you tell listeners, about your origin story? What drew you to Tokusatsu?
Oh boy, well, we just turned this episode into a two-parter because that's going to be a lot. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, the origin story. I'll try to keep it nice and lean here, but I mean, the big thing for me that really got me into it was, it was in the basement that I'm in right now. Actually, that's like my work and studio space, and I remember vividly just being in there, and there was an old, one of the old UHF dial, CRTs in the corner of the room. And I think it was like a Saturday or a Sunday, and suddenly hitting channel 58. And it was the first 5 minutes of, or no, the first 5 minutes, the last 5 minutes of Godzilla versus Megalon, and specifically right when they're just beating down on Megalon, and we get to see the flying Godzilla dropkick. And then it's like right around that time, I want to say, because this was still like the 90s, we're talking like early 90s. So like Ultraman Towards the Future hit syndication, and I remember losing my mind because I'm like, oh, it's like more like Godzilla. And my mom was a big fan of creature features, so like a lot of those classic movies were starting to be released on VHS, so, and we were getting those in the house. So I have the old gold frame re-releases of like Godzilla 85 and Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla and Godzilla vs. Gigan. And I watched those all the time growing up. Then going from that to Power Rangers. And then it was right around that time that I had stumbled upon an issue of Antarctic Press's old fanzine, Sentai Magazine. And that's when I found out that it's like, wait a minute, Power Rangers is from Japan? Wait, the Green Ranger dies? What? I'm just, it's just a further step into, that downward spiral. Then like the internet was becoming a thing. So I would go online, like websites like, it was like the old news groups, Alt TV Sentai, where I was dealing with people who were like, like several years older than me. I was like going on, was it Jilin Sentai spoilers? Absolute Ultraman run by my old buddy Wayne Koizumi.
You're bringing up Jill. You're dating yourself.
I know I'm dating myself. I know. Newsflash, we're old, Tyler. I would go to Best Buy or at Circuit City, and I would look up these websites on Web TV because we did not have a computer in the house for a number of years that was capable of the internet. Capable of web surfing and stuff. And so I would just go and I would just absorb these pages, and like people would just look at me weird, because I'm just like doing that. And so I was just so hungry, and it's why I kind of refer to stuff as like an adventure, because it was just me going and trying to find out as much as I could. And then we had a local anime store, and I remember walking in one day and suddenly it was an episode of Die Ranger, and I'm like, oh my god, like what is it? What this is it? This is that Japanese stuff? What? And then it's like actually watching that and then getting to see Kamen Rider ZO, which I also like walked in on the last 5 minutes of. There's a running trend you're finding out that like I discovered the big three largely because just wandering in. It was just one thing after another, and I just kept going, and the rest is history basically. It was just a series of stumbles and fortuitous stumbles, and eventually I got hooked.
Yeah, I think it's funny, for people like our age, the story of getting into Tokusatsu starts with Power Rangers.
There's just like this whole generation where, because you had like the days of like the old creature feature shows and stuff like that, where it was like this melting pot of like sci-fi and horror and Japanese monster movies and stuff like that, and that all just kind of swirled together. And like even with the 70s, you had like Shogun Warriors and all these other Japanese toys coming into the fray, and it was all just one big kind of melting pot. But now it's it feels like there's more of a dividing line between like the Henshin hero side of things and the kaiju side of things, which kind of sucks. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to think about that, like, then and now, where it's like one is just this, like this big wondrous realm of rocket punches and all this stuff like that. And then now it's like, I don't know, like, yeah, it really is like more kind of like Power Ranger centric or whatever, because I think that's why a lot of people got into Ryuki back in the day, even, is because like there was just that crossover. It's like, wait a minute, there are multiple riders, there are multiple rangers. Wait, hold on a second, what? Like that whole thing.
Yeah, yeah. So, tell us about R5 Central and how that came about.
Oh boy, here we go.
This is going to be another two-parter.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, because R5 was just an outlet for me, back in the day. Because back then, I had always wanted to do like a news podcast. Well, when podcasts became a thing, I kind of wanted to get on, and I'd always wanted to do like a blog or something, or just, but I also wanted an outlet. I think I just wanted an outlet for like me, basically, to perform and then also do news and just nerd out and all this crazy. And oh, that's right. I don't know if I can swear or not. I guess that'll be the first bleep of the episode. But
oh yeah, you can't. Sorry, swear jar.
Okay, bing. No, it's funny. I remember the interview I did for Ranger Command Power Hour, and I got bleeped so many times. I feel like that's a land speed record. So,
like Morse code.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There we go. Challenge accepted. Let's go. No. But yeah, no. So yeah, R5 Central. We started that in 2005, and a lot of the kind of early community for that. A lot of that like happened like and over at Henshin Justice. And we would do like news, and we do on location stuff, and then we'd also do like a whole audio drama thing. It was like, imagine like the best description I've ever heard is an epic version of MST3K, like MST3K but with like super robots, and that was us. And yeah, there's some stuff that there's a lot of stuff that I am proud of, but there's stuff that if I look back on it now, there's a little cringe. And there's
same.
And there's stuff that, I don't know, like there's stuff that I'm not totally proud of, but every once in a while I'll get a message from someone saying how much the show meant to them and how much they'd want to listen to it again. And like I had someone write me this really nice letter about like how it made them want to like go out and make friends and stuff like that who had similar interests, and which got me a little misty-eyed, and because it's like my biggest thing is like I've got imposter syndrome bad, and right when I think I've shaken it off, it comes right back. And those little moments when you find out that your work changed someone's life or meant something to them, like that just feels like $1 million. And not even just like, for like this, the kick, or whatever. It's literally like, it just makes everything you go through. And it's a nice little reminder that everything's worthwhile. So it's, that does mean the world, which is why I tend to get a little protective of those days. Cause yeah, there was laser sounds, and yeah, there was a little craziness, and yeah, there's a little bit of cringe, but I got to interview Hikaru Utada. I got to interview Mark Musashi. I got to shoot the breeze with like Kyle Aber and work with some really great people who have since blown up to become fantastic voice actors and actresses. And yeah, those were the days, man.
Yeah. And speaking of interviews, you also co-founded Tokusatsu Network. You're not involved anymore, correct?
Yeah, I quietly left in 2015. There was just a bunch of stuff going on for me at the time. Biggest one, depression. So
I can relate to that too.
Yeah. So that was Tokusatsu Network. Yeah, my baby. Well, partially my baby. Like they're still using my old logo and stuff like that, which I think is really cool. So we started Tokusatsu Network back then. It was just at a time when Tokusatsu news in the West, like, or in America, you have all of these like other outlets, like you had like the prestige ones, like you had Sci-Fi Japan, and you had like, the old Monster Zero forums, like those were like your big prestige pieces. But then, it's like there wasn't a whole, like you had like what was it, all these other websites, and do these pretty shady things in terms of like, like misattributing stuff, mistranslating stuff, leaking things like that, like just stealing content from people wholesale and not crediting them, and stuff like that. And it was just a really bad landscape, for this. And so a bunch of us got together and we're like, we're complaining about this. Why don't we just be the change we want to see in the world? And so that's how Tokusatsu Network really came into play there. And that was us all just wanting to deliver the best, news and the best translations and the best content the best way we can. And I worked on the YouTube channel in the very beginning. It kind of helped build that infrastructure. But yeah, it was just, I had a bunch of stuff going on at the time. I had some very long-held depression issues that I was slowly realizing were a thing. And I just realized this stuff wasn't making me happy anymore. And that's why I ended up leaving. I'm still friends with a lot of the people who are involved with the site and stuff like that. And I look back on those days fondly, and I'm just happy that I was able to reconnect with everybody.
And for the longest time, did you think of yourself as an aspiring voice actor or just a voice actor?
It was more a voice actor. I mean, because it's I like. There's that, I forgot who said it. I think it was it Kevin Smith or it was some other director.
Yeah.
Basically said okay, if you're calling yourself an aspiring filmmaker, it's okay, did you shoot a movie with your friends? Yeah. Okay, great. You're a filmmaker.
But my point is I think where I'm going with this question now is during the pandemic, you actually did get your first real anime voiceover roles. Talk a little bit about getting those roles, and if we can expect to hear any more of you in series. Though I understand with all the changes happening at Crunchyroll, maybe that door is closed for now. Is it?
Not exactly. I'm still getting auditions. It's what the big thing right now is that people are still kind of deciding whether or not remote recording is here to stay. And I think a lot of people are agreeing that, yeah, it is. I mean, I should know. I recently booked something in LA with with remote recording. So it is possible. It's the same as always. It's just, making sure you can network and get your foot in the door, and showing you've got the chops. And so for me, I had been doing voice acting since I was 16. I was doing stuff on on Flava and on Voice Acting Alliance, and doing radio plays. My first ever thing was a Inuyasha radio play that I am so glad is no longer online. It was so bad. I was 16, and I was trying to sound gruff, really gruff, the voice that I have now. Imagine me right about here normally, and then it's I'm oh yeah, excuse me, sir. Would you show me into the adult section here? I am totally of age. As of
you just did a business.
Yeah, exactly. Essentially. So it was not great. It was not great, and I'm glad it's to the wayside. But that's how that started, and it was funny because that started because I was trying to do a Metal Hero fan film back in the day. The voice actress I met that I was on Alt TV Sentai. She's like, "Hey, I'm doing a thing. Would you be interested in doing it?" I'm like, "Hell yeah!" And we did a couple more Super Sentai fan dubs, and so I got to be Gao Yellow and Big One for the Gao Ranger versus Super Sentai roll call. And I nailed that. I nailed doing those voices. And then we did a whole bunch of other stuff. And it was just that, doing more radio plays and just going back and forth. And there were a couple fan commercials. And then eventually, I did a promo for Otaku USA. They got used on a couple different podcasts, which was pretty cool. But then what ended up happening was eventually we get to 2017, and I get a message from a buddy of mine. He's like, "Hey, Bang Zoom's coming to Anime Central, and they're doing open auditions, and the winner gets flown out to Los Angeles. Would you be interested?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll give it. I guess." Cool. I scrounged together some cash and I went, and so I went in, read my stuff. Bang Zoom it called me back and it did that. I had a really bad moment of stage fright, stage freeze, and it didn't. I ended up not getting it. Ended up not getting the role, but then I went back the following year, and there was like someone who was with Bang Zoom at the time who straight up was like, and I'll never forget this, like straight up just like gave me the biggest hug after everything. And because I think he could tell that I was really I wasn't doing that great, because like I could only afford to go 2 days, and then on the last day I just missed sign up cutoff, and I was nearly trampled, and we had to just like, we were hitting every red light. My friend and I were running late, and like as everyone like went into the convention hall, they were just running past me. I almost got knocked down, and I was like just limping, because this is right when I was having like leg issues and stuff like that, because sciatica and all that good junk. So yeah, like, and so, like he could tell I was hurting, and he just gives me the biggest hug and is like, dude, please don't give up, please come back, don't give up on this just yet, I really like your voice. And I almost broke down sobbing right there, but I kept coming back. And so then finally 2020 happens, and a bunch of the studios are all like, we need to open up and diversify our talent a bit more. And so send us your stuff, folks. And I think it was over a period of 2 weeks, I was sending my demo reel to everybody. And mind you that like I had this little voice nagging me in the back of my head saying in March, Mike, make a new demo reel, finish your new demo reel. And sure enough, I got into the talent roster for Bang Zoom. First thing they ever sent me was for Pokemon Masters EX. And I auditioned and I got in, and I got out both Elio and Raihan. And and then it was like a little bit after that, like I think the following year, I got the call for Welcome to Demon School Irmakun, and I'd been a fan of the show. And that's when I got it. They're just like, hey, there's Runaway Romier, we're going to be casting for him. Here's the sides. And I read for it, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't think I'm going to make it. But then I was lying in bed, and there's a running trend with me finding out I have a voice role. It's always when I'm lying in bed, and it's when I get the email. And suddenly,
maybe you should pull like a Cameron from Ferris Bueller and just kind of, stay in bed.
Can I get that in writing? It just so you know, I can't go in and work a normal day job. I have to stay in bed 24/7 until I find out I book a voice role. If only. But yeah, so like I booked that, and it was my first ever role that I got to sing. It was so much fun, and I'm so happy I'm coming back for him for third season. Which is they're recording for it right now. So my boy's coming back. It's gonna be great. I'm technically in the first episode, but because of budget, I guess they couldn't. They weren't able to do the whole song thing, so they just reverted to Japanese. So I was a little disappointed. I would have loved an opportunity to come in and sing again. But yeah, it's just been a nice journey. I've met a lot of really great people. There's been some really cool opportunities. There's been some setbacks. But there's also been some really cool wins, and I'm. It's been great. It's been great. It is a dream come true. And and the big thing though for me was this past year, because I got to be the voice of Kamen Rider 01 for a commercial.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got to be Aruto, and which was funny because that almost didn't happen. Because originally the joke was going to be the sign was going to come up, and it was going to be clipped from the show, like the like it was gonna be the clip of that, and then we were gonna get a Japanese voice actress, a native speaker, to voice match and do Iz's lines, and to do the joke where she's explaining that it's like it's explaining the joke. And so what happened is we were right down to the wire, and the actress who we had in mind, she got pneumonia. So we were like, oh heck, what are we gonna do? So I'm just gonna I'm just gonna go in and I'll just record this for Arito because otherwise if we have it in English it's not going to make sense. And so we recorded did this whole thing, did the whole shtick, got it in perfectly, and just in time. Toei approved it, and so for that one glorious moment I got to be the English dub voice of Arito, and I'm really happy that the reception to that was warm and wonderful, because there were so many people when that came out saying, oh my gosh, if you do a 01 dub, please bring those people back. And shout out to my friend Kim Gasil, who came in like a trooper and did those lines for Iz. I'm so happy that she's in my life and she's a good friend. So yeah, it's so like there's just been all sorts of weird things. I mean, God, there's that. I got to be the voice of Ultra. Was that Tregear? For like a YouTube channel. I got, I was the arbiter for Power Rangers Unworthy for a bit, which was like, I think my last fan role for a while. I just got burned out on fan roles finally. But there's just been all these weird little adventures and whatnot that have come up as a result of that. And, I keep making the joke to people that my memoirs are going to be insane. And I feel like the voice acting is definitely going to contribute to that.
But you've also, besides, being in voice acting now, you've also had, kind of as you alluded to, involvement with these projects, in other ways. Talk about how you got connected with Shout doing trailers and such, and with Discotech. Yes. With your contributions to Gavan and Black releases.
Oh yeah, totally. So, how that really happened was, as far as Shout was concerned. So, Let's Talk Tokyo was a thing that happened, and Squall had brought on someone who made some pretty disparaging comments about Ultraman, and we won't go into, but made some pretty disparaging comments about Ultraman, which riled a lot of people up, including a couple friends of mine at the time who were just like, you know what, Mike, you need to be hosting that show. And I'm like, guys, I don't want to host it. And like, no, you should be on that show, man. You bring him on, and whatever. And they're just getting riled up, and then those same friends of mine were all just going on Twitter, being like, bring Mike Dent on, all that stuff like that. Not with that kind of fury, but they were all just like saying like, no, you should bring him, bring him in. He knows his stuff, and he'll set the record straight. So Squall took notice, and then Ari, who's the manager and the then producer for the show, noticed me and saw Vintage Tension and was like, okay, yeah, no, we need to bring you in to do this. And so we recorded the episode shortly after. I'm kind of 50-50 on it, how it turned out. This from years of working with me, that it's like, I tend to steamroll, and you got to be able to direct me. Like, you got to be able to direct the steamroll. And it really wasn't happening there, and so I went all over the place. But I really feel like I feel like I did a decent job defending Ultraman, but I don't know. I feel like I could have done better, but hindsight's 20/20. Anyway, so after that, Ari and I kept in touch because he was like, hey, do you mind if I consult you for like Ultraman stuff from time to time? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And then I think it was the trailer for Hasty Generations Forever came out, and I'm like, hey, so I saw this trailer, just so you know, I also do video editing. And I sent my materials over, and he's like, dude, we need to bring you in. And so like, that's how that got started. The first promo I cut for Shout, first one I cut and wrote actually, was the MST3K Gamera Marathon, because that's right when they got the rights back to be able to show those movies. So that was a dream come true, because those were like my favorite episodes of MST3K, especially Gearon. But like it went from there to just me working on promos, and then doing the occasional bits of graphic design, like the Instagram graphics for 01 and Ryuki that were shown during Writer Week back then. That was me. And then it just went on, because then Tokusatsu became the Twitch channel, And then it's like, okay, hey Mike, would you be cool with doing some interstitials? And I'm like, yeah, sure, I could do that. And that's what I did. So I went in and did those, and I was getting paid. There's all paid work, for anyone who's wondering. But yeah, all paid work. And eventually it just got to, hey, we're doing a special for Ultraman Day, and we're working with Starlight Runner and Subaraya. And it went from me just being like, okay, maybe you should do this, and this. Okay, well, what about this? Well, how about that? And then it went from that to, hey, Mike, we want you to co-write the script. Okay. And then going in like, hey, Mike, what do you think about this? And I'm like, okay, well, maybe you should do it this way, and this way. And then I'm offering like feedback to all this other stuff. And before I realized, I became the director of the whole project. I had a co-production credit, a co-producer, co-writing credit, but then I just became director. I just sort of just slipped into the seat because I'm like, okay, do this, and this. Don't do that. Make sure you're doing it this way. What about this? Okay, do that, Matt, and do that. And I'm just like, just going into it. I just slipped so effortlessly into the role. Well, not effortlessly. It just kind of happened. I just sort of, again, it's a series of stumbles. I just ended up in there. And, and so, because then there I am, all of a sudden I'm sitting in a meeting with, high level people from Subaraya Productions. And I'm just like, this is my life now. That's all the stuff with Shout. For Discotheque, that one, it's a little less involved because it's a little more recent. 2021, I think it was September 2021, there was like a panel and they said, oh, more Tokusatsu stuff is coming. And I'm just like, should I offer to help? Should I offer to I don't know. Like I would be cool with that. I'm looking for more work. Should I do it? And my friends and my industry contacts, they're just like, Mike, just do the stupid thing. And I'm like, all right. So I send a message and I'm like, hey, if you're looking for someone who's like Tokusatsu savvy, who can help out, I can totally do that. I write, I also do video editing. Here's my samples. And then I get a message back from Justin Zavakis and he's like, yeah, sure. We'd love to work with you. Keep in touch. So, which is what I did. And then it was March of last year that I got the message from Justin that it's like, hey, if you can keep this on the download, like, yeah, we got Space Sheriff Gavan. Is there anything you'd be able to contribute with that? And I'm like, would I? Because, Gavan's like my favorite TV Tokusatsu show, like bar none. There's just so much with it that is just amazing. And so, and I wasn't about to turn down the opportunity to work on the first ever like American release for it. No. So, I ended up sacrificing 3 art books for it. I had to do the thing where you hold up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you put a lot into this. Like I was actually looking through the slideshow on the Gavan release a bit earlier and seeing some of the creases.
Yeah, there's a couple of them. Oh boy. So, because what would happen is I spent a whole day at the library scanning stuff in, and they're like, hey, Mike, just so you know, there's a couple of these we won't be able to use. And I'm like, well, what? And this Justin's telling me this. And I'm just like, well, why? Why? Like, we can't, well, because typically when you're scanning for stuff like this, you got to destroy the binding. And I'm like, oh. And I'm like, and I did a little bit of soul searching. And I'm like, it's for the greater good. And so I messaged Justin. I was like, hey, I had a thought, think over. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to destroy the books and I'll scan them over tomorrow. And he's like, are you sure? With like multiple like question marks. And I'm like, look, it's for, it's for the greater good. It's, it's for this release, let's make some people happy. I didn't say those exact words, but I'm just like, this is what it's all about for me. It's just making sure that, this is a really good release and that, people are really ecstatic. And yeah, like he was just like, oh my gosh, it was like, well, I really appreciate that. Thank you. And I just went to work. And so I spent an evening on the phone with a friend, and I was just casually destroying my Gavan art books with a blow dryer and a microwave and like a nail file to get into like the creases and stuff. So it was really funny. It was a really funny experience. But then all I could think of is that, I think one of the inspirations just to do it was like Mike Toole, when he said like
our mutual friend.
Yeah, our mutual friend, TV's Mike Toole, who destroyed his giant Robo art book for the recent set. And everyone in the fandom's like, no, don't do it. He's like, it's okay. No, I want you guys to have it. And I'm like,
talk about suffering for the art.
Yeah, I mean, that's what this was basically. Like, I don't know if you've seen Giant Robo, the OVA. Like, there's that whole bit
No.
Okay, yeah, there's this whole bit where like Daisaku's having a flashback and he sees his father in a flame, and he's like, all I could do is like, as I'm like holding a blow dryer to like the crease and and ripping the glue apart, I could just see like the visage of Mike Toole saying, "Can true happiness be achieved without sacrifice?" And I'm just like, oh my god. Well, one, I'm thinking, okay, well, these glue fumes are definitely getting to me. But yeah, like that's what happened. Thankfully, for Commodore Black, there was not a single book casualty because I was a lot smarter about how I did that. And that was another thing where like I just kind of like fell into it. And I had asked Justin, I'm like, hey, I'm planning the next couple of months. What are we planning on doing? And he's like, oh, well, yeah, we got Commodore Black. And I'm like, oh. and he's like, yeah, would you be able to do anything for it? I'm like, yeah, I could do an essay and I can do some photos. And he's like, okay, cool. And then towards the end of it, I was like, hey, question. So would you guys like a trailer to promote this? And he's like, yeah, like, he's like, yeah, like, go ahead and do the trailer. So then I just cut the thing and everyone really liked it. And then that was what they led the end of the year discotheque panel with, which I was really surprised. And I actually do have documentation of this because I was on Twitch with Bunny Cartoon from Don from the Anime Nostalgia podcast, and we're watching. And so you get like there's a clip of me laughing maniacally as I knew it was coming, and Dawn just losing her mind. And we just going, surprise! So, yeah.
Well, I remember being at the discotheque panel. I was at the discotheque panel at Otakon, and people were losing their minds, like loud when Urusei Yatsura, as loud as they were when they announced Urusei Yatsura. I was freaking out that much when they announced Gavan, and your trailer. Everyone loved it.
Well, the trailer. Well, I didn't do the trailer for that. That was just a clip from the show, unfortunately. I thought,
my bad.
No, it's okay. I had thought about doing a trailer for Gavan, but I was like, I'm like, nah, no, it's okay, it's fine. But for Commodore Black, I was just like, I want this to pop. I want this to be a big pop. I want this to be a big moment, and this is like me paying it forward. Which is what it's usually been for a lot of these trailers that I've done for like Shot Factory and stuff, because like a lot of the more epic trailers, those are the ones that like those are shows that I love and shows that really mean a lot to me. Like the Kuga trailer, like that was something I'd been planning to do since I started doing stuff with Tokusatsu. There was originally going to be voiceover that I was going to do, but we were running out of time, and it was becoming way too complex. But like stuff like that, like me wanting to, because I love those crowd reactions. I love people, when they get excited for something. And so when Black was coming, I'm like, I really want this to sizzle, and I really want to help make that happen. And so that's why I cut that trailer. And I'm so happy and I'm blown away that is going to be a special feature on the set. Like, it's already a kitchen sink release, but the fact that I'm wedged in there somewhere, like my place in history, that is wild to me. And it, and oh my God, like just in seeing the video footage of people losing their mind, like when Otakon happened, at that time I was dealing with a lot personally, and because just this past year just was like me just like falling down a series of steps repeatedly. it was the Bob Marley sketch from Family Guy. Basically, that was me. That was my 2022, and I wasn't able to go to Otakon, but I knew that Gavan was going to be announced, and I had to kind of keep the secret and not tell anybody, and just wait for my friends to completely lose their minds, and then I was getting messages from all my friends like, dude, congrats! Oh my god! Like everyone in the room lost their shit, or everyone in the room lost their minds, man. Oh my god, when I got announced as for doing the historical essay, actually it was my buddy Coop who was the loudest cheer. Like he was like, yeah, like that was him.
Yeah, I was one of the loud cheers. I think I just screamed like I just saw Bigfoot or something.
Yeah. I mean, you're not too far off. But yeah, no, that was a moment for me because I'd been, again, dealing with a bunch of stuff. So it's that reminder again. It was just that it's like the work that I've done has not been for nothing. And it's not like I haven't gone unrecognized. And that was a much needed reminder. So, I mean, I really want to thank everyone that went off for me that day. You really made my year. I mean, it's in my end of the year reel,
So speaking of Gavan, I was reading your essay earlier in preparation for this, but talk about the gamble that Toei made on it, the position they were in at the time, and the stakes for them in terms of, what if it didn't work out?
Oh boy, yeah, no. So yeah, part of the reason I love Gavan is because it was just a test bed of innovation. Because the big one, of course, was the use of the ECG system, the Totsu ECG system, which was electronic cinematography, which was a system that developed by NASA actually, that allowed you to convert film to video, basically video signals to film. And so you had all these new video composition effects and stuff like that, and chroma key and things like that people were now starting to be able to use for a lot of these tokusatsu shows. And so you had that innovation. You had the Japan Action Club really coming into their own, around this time. Because they had kind of taken the center seat from the Ono Kenyukai. And, it does all this stuff. But the thing is that everyone was nervous when Gavan was happening. Because Gavan was being developed to fill that void that was left by Kamen Rider. And the big thing about that was, so you want to do this show. There's no precedent. There's no brand for it to fall back on. Okay, and you're casting an unknown actor in the lead. You're casting a dude who's been a supporting character in Super Sentai. The goofball character, okay. And then basically the network said, here's the deal. If Gavan bombs, we want your resignations we want your resignations, basically. And so, and that is, you had that. And at the same time, for Toei, it was okay, at this point we have this, our Super Sentai stuff, the anime we're producing, and we have a couple, in the Fushigi comedy series that's starting it, which hadn't really gotten that name by that point. Robot Hotchan was becoming a thing by then. But it's it was around then that if this bombed, Toei thought they would never be able to do a standalone Tokusatsu hero show ever again. And
even Sentai would have died?
I don't think Sentai would have died, but in terms of an offshoot, because Sentai at that point had been successful, because this was 82, so you had Battle Fever J, and you had Denji Man, you had Sun Vulcan. Those were proven hits. That would have survived. But in terms of doing an offshoot, another another Henshin hero type thing, because remember, this is post Henshin boom. Because that period from 1971 to some people
you had a bunch of shows, we were talking about Ichiro Mizuki, and a lot of the shows that he did were in the 70s.
Exactly. And so you would have had you had all this stuff, but then a lot of those big a lot of the big studios were dying out, And so Toei was churning out so many of those shows. Like they were like at the epicenter of the henshin boom, but it was like those shows started to die out. Like, the oil crisis had taken its hit. So a lot of these people were tapering off, and like their superheroes weren't as profitable. Like the anime boom basically came in and said, get out of here with those rocket punches. Let's tell you some stories, and Space Battleship Yamato and like was just, kicking butt at the box office and, and beating out Star Wars even. So like you had all this stuff happening, and just heroes were not like, as profitable as they used to be. So this was like, okay, so you're wanting to do another hero show during a time period where, apart from Sentai, you're not really going to get them. Okay, great. Well, this is what's at stake here. And so that's the whole thing. But it worked out. Gavan was lightning in a bottle. And I think those first couple episodes definitely proved that. You had some beautiful, like the beautiful special effects, and they went above and beyond. Granted, they kind of diminished, over the course of the remaining episodes because, you would expect, you have to keep it going. And plus, when they were working on Gavan, that's when Toei was like, hey, we're doing another Super Sentai show and we're splitting the staff down the middle. Which is why, like, in terms of composition for the Gavan theme, that credit goes to someone else entirely. But like the actual composition was done by Chumi Watanabe, but then the actual like arrangement of everything, like for the actual like recording and the instruments and stuff like that was done by another person entirely because of that. But yeah, it's so like you had a lot on the line, but they pulled it off. And then Kenji Oba finds out, and he's like, I'm going to put my life on the line for the show, which is why as you watch the show, everything escalates with a lot of the stunts he was doing. It was like, it was like the thing that Toei was like, we never want to put someone through this ever again after Hiroshi Fujioka. And
right
here we are.
You think that would have been the end of it?
No, but yeah, dude, just like I'm a member of the Japan Action Club. I've done all these shows by now. I can do this. Let me do whatever it takes. And that was the thing. I mean, even Osamu Kaneda, who was the action director, was like, I never had to worry with you, or Gavan's suit actor. I never had to worry with you two, because you could, whatever I threw at you, you could just do it. And
Kenji Oba, you wrote in your essay, went out of his way to try to make Retsu as impressive out of the suit.
Oh, yeah. Because he had this very great sense of rivalry. Like, he didn't hate the suit actor who was inside of it. It was just that he's like, okay, whatever cool stuff is happening in the suit, I've got to be able to match it. And so that got worked into canon. Like, when Gavan the movie came out, there was a novel that came out that spelled out a bunch of, like, story lore stuff or whatever. And they spelled out the capabilities of all three of the Metal Hero or the Space Sheriff combat suits. And the thing about Gavan, the thing that made Gavan so remarkable is that the suit only gave him a certain percentage boost for his strength and jumping power and stuff like that. And the rest of it was all him and his raw talent. So like Gavan was just that amazing, as himself as a human, that, once you give him the combat suit, it's like it's just putting on a hot rod engine, which I think is amazing. So yeah, it's so good. And which, by the way, if you get the disc, I highly recommend going through the roundtable interview with him and Osamu Kaneda and Gavan, and I keep blanking on his name, Gavan's suit actor, because you get to go into the history for a lot of those stunts. And you get to hear what it was like back then to work on shows like that, where it's like high action and high risk. I mean, and getting thrown from a car at top speed and stuff like that.
So without getting into spoilers for Gavan, Sonny Chiba turns up in a role late in the series. He did this reportedly just doing a solid for his Japan Action Club buddy. But they had a couple other iconic pairings after that it was after that in Kage no Gundan and, of course, Kill Bill.
Oh, also, and I completely blanked on this, also in Legend of the Eighth Samurai, because they're both in it, and oh my gosh, that movie is so great. If you want to talk prestige, like a prestige movie, a prestige genre movie, even for the 1980s in Japan, that's it. And it's based off a very old story, and it was the inspiration for Message from Space, also to an extent Q Ranger, and stuff like that. And it's so funny because it's so incredibly over the top. But where I'm going with this is, Kenji Oba's in it. Etsuko Shihomi, who played Bajinder in Hikaider, was also the star. Actually had her own career on par with Sonny Chiba's. She's in it, and Hiroyuki Sanada, who's since gone on to have this big illustrious career, he's in it. And it's just this big powerhouse showcase, and the effects team that worked on Sentai and Kamen Rider, and also Gavan also worked on it, same effects director Nobuo Yajima. And in addition to checking out Shadow Warriors, even though that's not till the third season of Shadow Warriors, and at Shout we only have the first season. But yeah, if you can check out I think the third season of Shadow Warriors, you can see him and Kenji Oba in action together, and they're just a delight. But also check out Legend of the Eight Samurai, because oh my god.
Yeah, I digress, but Hiroyuki Sanada is one of those actors who's like a human seal of approval for me. I haven't seen him in no matter what his role is, he hasn't been in a movie that I have hated.
Have you seen Roaring Fire?
No.
You need to see Roaring Fire. That was one of his first major vehicle movies.
But it's particularly Western movies. It's like Keith Stanfield. If he's in a movie, even if he's a small role, like in Knives Out, is also a movie I love.
Yeah,
he's
so capable. And it's
it's even if it isn't because of their performance, if they just happen to be a movie, I'll love it.
Yeah.
But going back to Gavan, the characters returned several times over the last decade. Now the mantle of Gavan has been passed on to somebody else. Mm-hmm. What do you think, made the show and the character so beloved? What gave it such staying power?
Everything was just so darn charming. I mean, really, that's the best way I can describe it, because you had so many things that appealed to kids. You had the UFOs, you had all sorts of action and adventure. You had Kenji Oba as the lead, who was your cool older brother, and that's something that kids resonate with. So if you have a really good, if you have it a lead actor, I mean, it's Doctor Who, if you have a great actor who can appeal to everybody, that's it. I mean, that's really all you need. And then on top of that, you have the amazing visual effects work. Even if they weren't blowing stuff out of the water every episode, there was always something. Whether it was the fact that his spaceship turns into a giant dragon, or really cool reverse shots, or them fighting on the rings of a planet. You had all these things. It was so unpredictable, with Maku Space, because that was the big gimmick at the end of every episode. It's okay, we must we transfer the fight to Maku Space, and the bad guys get their power up and stuff like that. But it's it was so unpredictable. You never knew what was going to happen. They could throw whatever gimmicks they could feel at the time at Gavan and Maku Space. And I think I think it was Kenji Oba himself said it in the interview that's on the set, where he's it was a lot like a video game. It was a lot like video game progression. You had different stages and stuff like that. And I think that's also what appealed to kids. But it's this really big smorgasbord of just things that kids would like, and kids at heart. And I can't think of a way you could hate this show if you hate fun, unless you hate fun.
Now, in recent years, thanks to Discotech and Shout, there's become a lot more availability of Tokusatsu in the West, and now not just Sentai and Kamen Rider, but Jaspion and Gavan, compared to all those years ago. like, what do you think is behind companies like this finally going out there and licensing some of this live action stuff?
I think it's just because people saw there's money in it. I mean, that's really it. It's I mean, that's the bottom line. Tokusatsu, the brand Tokusatsu, was a no-brainer because Shout just had all these things, at their disposal, and they're like, well, we need a better way to get it.
And Ultraman, of course, I forgot to mention Ultraman.
And Ultraman as well.
That was caught up. That was caught up in legal wrangling. That's why it took so long.
Oh yeah, that too. And so that was the thing. But it's like, I think the Western push for Ultraman, the launch for Tokusatsu, it was just this perfect storm. And I think when it became apparent that there's money in this, that people are willing to throw money at a Blu-ray set for Kamen Rider, that there's a way to do this. And Discotheque was kind of sort of testing the waters with like Message from Space and Cutie Honey the Live and Starfleet, and then it's like, why don't we just go for Kamen Rider? Not that that's the actual thought process, but it's just like, why not go for one of the most popular Kamen Rider shows ever? Why not go for like the first Metal Hero show? Why not, or with Juspian, God, why not go for what just looks like a really fun show? And like Juspian was also another lightning in the bottle situation. People really dug it. And never mind the fact that there's like all sorts of importing going on. I think Brazilian fans were just eating that particular setup immediately, as well as us here in the States. And the same, and with Gavan and everything like that, it's just like, it just makes sense to just go to push for it. If it's a big enough name, and there's clout behind it, go for it. And then at the same time, you're also gonna have people who are gonna discover this for the first time, which is even amazing, and that's just gonna bring more people in. And I think that in general, it's amazing. It's a nice turnaround. And I think even outside of like that, it's like seeing this the kind of the growth of fandom, what was it, conventions. You have, I've seen the odd Power Ranger / Tokusatsu gathering grow from like a bunch of crazy people in the middle of like the hotel at 1 a.m, which is what happened with me back in 2005. And then going from that to all of a sudden everyone taking up a loading dock, or 2 loading docks even. And so it just seems like it's the right time. It's like it just, everything has lined up, and it feels like, we're not even scratching the surface yet.
Yeah, I just wish that Gato had done better, but
that was unfortunate.
That one hurt.
That was, and I feel like that was just a mix of I feel like that could have been pushed a lot better.
I feel like if it were more timely.
Yeah, and plus but then with that, there's like other reasons for that too, more than like
marketing. You know, like if it had been put out by a discotheque, it might have hit its niche better.
Exactly. I wish, I really do wish High Dive would have a bit more
High Dive. That's the other problem.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's subscriber fatigue, and I think also just Sentai Filmworks. I really hoped that would have made it, but unfortunately,
I think it was just a bad match between Switchblade and Sentai.
Yeah, which is, I think, sucks. Yeah,
I think you wonder, if it would have gone differently if Toho Shinsha wasn't asking as much as they were asking for the show back in the day.
Yeah.
Because Tony Oliver said that he, checked on it, and they wanted like $1 million an episode.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
And he would have needed to get a TV deal that you were not going to get in the U.S.
There's no way. Yeah. There's no way. Even if you have it dubbed, there's no way.
Yeah. Who's going to air it? I know it aired on like MTV in like Italy, but
yeah, well, yeah, it's because they're more cultured than us, unfortunately.
Yeah.
In that regard.
But something Adam, for the life of me, I can't figure out is, obviously, Toei is in a beholden to whatever Saban, now Hasbro, want when it comes to Sentai. But why do they take? I know you can't say what you can't say to the extent you know anything, but why do they take such a piecemeal approach to marketing the shows that they can market it in the U.S. Compared to Tsuburaya, who signed everything away to Anchor Bay, called it a day?
Yeah, and that's something that there's stuff above pay grade that I can't talk about, but it's like the big thing is like every company is a lot of these companies are very protective of their IPs, and they are very protective, and they want it to do well. And I think when you set a high enough price point for stuff like Garo, I mean, I think that's them being like, okay, how serious are they to make this happen? The problem is nowadays, especially with anime, it's like a race to the bottom, because it's not who's spending the most, it's who's willing to spend the least on it. And
do you think with Kamen Rider specifically that, because Ishimori Pro is involved, do you think that there's any like reticence on the part of Ishimori Pro from having been burned in regards to the American market?
I don't know. I can't speak to that specifically.
I don't know. I guess it'd just be conjecture anyway.
Because that's more. That's more speculation. I think that I don't know if they would be that petty, but because it's like not when there's money to be made. And
I guess it's being burned twice, because even though Dragon Knight was good, it didn't make money.
Right. And I mean, even still, I mean, like Ishimori Pro is still they're gonna make their money because of residuals and stuff like that. But the big thing is that, again, you just have these companies that are so protective, and they're gonna operate different ways. Sometimes, I'm trying to think of a good analogy. Sometimes you work with companies who they're going to throw up hoops for you, and that you're going to have to jump through. But sometimes you'll have companies that want you to get through those hoops and make it to the end, and they will help you, and they'll show you how to get there, and they'll work with you to make that happen. And then there are other companies that will light the hoops on fire, turn out all the lights. They won't tell you whether or not there's broken glass on the ground, and they can't agree where the exit is, and you're just kind of left to your lonesome. So it's like, it can go either way. It really depends on the project. That's just the nature of the beast. It sucks because there's sometimes you want to pull your hair out. Like I've had a couple of those days where I've wanted to pull my hair out when I find out about something, but it's just the nature of the beast right now, and it sucks. And I wish I could speak more to it, speak a little more candidly to it. But there's not there's also stuff that I don't even know about. So, but yeah, I know I'm kind of. It feels like I'm dancing around.
We're going long.
I know there's only so much that I can say. So feel free to edit that for coherence.
If we edited for coherence, we'd only have a 5-minute show.
Well, yeah, but that'd be perfect. We'd be bite-sized.
Yeah. And that's just me. That's just for me.
Wow. I see how it is. Oh my gosh.
And you're also working on Kamen Rider Black, on the release for Kamen Rider Black.
Yes.
Tell me what made the adventures of Minami Kotaro so appealing to viewers to the point where now we're even seeing Black rebooted as Black Sun.
So here's the thing.
You got 2 seasons.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. So with Black, one of the things that people tend to remember more than the rest of the show is the drama. And you start out really strong with like 4 episodes, and they're written by Shozo Uehara, who also wrote for Gavan, who's also very hard hitting. And
for Spider-Man too.
Yeah, and he was one of the all-time greats. And Uehara did that. He also did Ultraman even too. Oh my gosh, what am I thinking? Of course I gotta mention his Ultraman stuff. So, but yeah, no, Uehara, he is known for these really really leaning into the gravitas, really leaning into the drama. And so you have like these very dark episodes at the very beginning, and that gripped a lot of people. And then after that, the show kind of gets a little repetitive, but it still manages to be fun because it's like, you know, you have like these creepy bad guys who are basically a cult, who are basically like the conspiracy theorist idea of Freemasons. You know, you have like, you know, like, and but also at the same time, it's like the aesthetic is really cool. Like you're leaning harder into the horror, and of course it's going to appeal to kids. You know, kids like, you know, I feel like on some basic level, there are some kids who like to be scared. You know, and like that show definitely had its share of creepy monsters. You know, and I think I can't remember if Keita Amamiya worked on any of those. Like he worked on Black RX, but I can't remember. Like I know Ishimori did a lot of those like monster designs as well. But it's so much of that. It just kind of comes together. You know, like you have Kotaro, who he's very stoic, but like, you know, you keep throwing all this stuff at him and he keeps managing to come out on top, you know, and I think he's like the embodiment of this ideal of Kamen Rider. I think part of like the notion that a whole generation of people had about Kamen Rider was because of Kotaro, like the idea of the lone solitary hero kind of fighting a one-man war. And, you know, like there's no Rider Scouts in this, there's no Pops, it's all him. And then and it kind of became the gold standard in that respect. So I feel like that's been a huge part of its perseverance. And so like to translate that to Black Sun, it kind of feels like a no-brainer. You know, like one, it's like you have the anniversary, and then at the same time you also have just so many interesting world building possibilities and stuff like that you can go with. And for the final product of Black Sun, they kind of sort of tapped into it, but I've got feelings about it. I just that's a whole other podcast, but I don't necessarily loathe it, but it's not high up on my list. But it's still a very well executed show for the most part, and it really plays on the strengths of Black. It plays on like the conspiracy, and it plays on like the human drama and stuff like that. And at its core, I think that's the biggest draw. But you know, for every episode of drama, you have, you know, the day the tuna disappeared, or, you know, my mom became a kaijin nanny, or something like that, or the episode where there's a whole plot in order to that's just there to embarrass Japan long enough so that way they could take over. It was just like, oh my gosh, and I'm like, if that is not the most like the most of its culture evil plot. Like, I don't know what it is. It's like, we're going to embarrass Japan. We're not going to disgrace it. We're just going to embarrass it. Oh my gosh.
Now, as we wrap up, without getting into things that you can't talk about, if you could wave a magic wand, what's one show that you would want out in Region 1 tomorrow?
Cybercops.
You know, what's your white whale? Cybercops?
Cybercops. Oh my god, I want Cybercops in America. Like, you don't understand how much I want Cybercops in America. I want Discotech to release it.
It's from 88.
Yeah. So yeah, I
it's
want.
Not Toei.
Yeah. It's Toho trying to compete with Super Sentai, and so. If you are a 90s kid, if you see the designs that they look familiar, it's because you probably bought them because they were released as Zap Power Force, which was, I believe, part of an attempt to try and bring it and localize it out to America, but unfortunately,
I think there were a lot of like Sentai, like even Leopardon was brought over like to American toy shelves.
Oh yeah,
like, under the same or different names.
Yeah, because Leopardon was brought on. Yeah, because you had Godaiken. That's why that was a part of. And so, but Zap was different because this was Takara Tomy, and this was direct on the heels of Power Rangers, and like you could tell they were like setting their sights, like, you know, this was supposed to be a bigger thing. And I remember there was a period of time where like those toys were everywhere at KB Toys, and and if you didn't know any better, you thought they were a knockoff. But me at the time, I saw, was it Lucifer? And I was like, well, he wasn't called Lucifer in America. He was called Blazord or whatever, some really generic name. And I'm like, oh, he looks like the Guyver. And at the time, I was a big fan of Bio Booster Armor Guyver. Yeah, and so I immediately went for it. And so, but yeah, like I just have been so enthralled with that for years. And so then, but seeing Cybercops, and Cybercops was another one of those like really innovative shows because unlike Super Sentai, they shot entirely on video. And the thing is, I laugh thinking about it because the thing is, because they shot everything on video, also when they do the miniature effects, it doesn't look great. And sometimes, in some instances, like you can really see like the seams, and it's so incredibly cheesy and whatnot. But it's also like they're like shooting for the fences for like just what they're trying to pull off in terms of ambition. They're like, you know, people flying through tunnels. There's time travelers. There's like a RoboCop tank. Like a dude's mind who's been put into like this giant like war machine. It's just absolutely bonkers. And I love the show so much. And I would love it so much if like Discotech could get it. If they could do that, just assemble some material, get the behind the scenes interviews. The show was so popular like in Brazil that when it wrapped, like years after it wrapped, there's this Brazilian circus that bought the original show suits. I think there's still restoration efforts to try and fix them up, but I'm like, get circus footage, or get all that material, put that all on one disc or like one set, and I would eat that up immediately. Or I would love to put that out into the world. Failing that, I think a lot of the stuff that I really want is already on its way, so, but like I would, if it was absolutely possible, it would be that or 7 Stars Fighting God Geiferd. I would love to get that out there too, because that's another really unique show. That was really unique with how they did fight choreography, because it was more rooted in like actual martial arts as opposed to stylized. And it's so good. It's such a good show. It's also kind of wacky, but I also I dig it immensely. So yeah, so that's my I can't just give one answer. No, I have to give 2. So
we've recorded for a good while now and gotten a lot of great stories. I think this is probably a good time to maybe start calling it a night. Now, where can our listeners find you? Do you have anything to plug?
Oh yes, well there's way too much. So like I said, I told you you're gonna get a 2-parter. So basically, you can. So right now, season 3 of Vulcan and Demon School Iruma-kun is on Crunchyroll.com. You can go and check that out. Also, Pokemon Masters EX, Elio and Raihan tend to cycle through in terms of rotations of characters you can roll for. Please gacha responsibly. Being best of luck. Barring that, Space Sheriff Gavan and Commander is now available for purchase, and Commander Black is coming out in February, and you can buy both of those over at rightstuff.com or wherever finer Blu-rays are sold. But you'll get a really good deal if you get it at Right Stuff. And then of course Commander Ryuki Blu-ray, which is coming out, which I'm really excited about. Get that at chatfactory.com and get yourself a free poster. And then barring that, there's my YouTube channel at Vintage Henshin, and which started up 2019, and we cover a lot of classic Tokusatsu media. We've finished season 1 finally on with an Ode to the Mazer Tank. You can watch that now over at bit.ly/Vintage Henshin, V&H both in caps, or just look up youtube.com/Vintage Henshin and you'll be able to find it. I think that's the bulk of it. Oh, and then go watch the Monstrosities Tokusatsu vlog documentary on the story of Hakaider Last Judgment. You can hear me as the voice of Hakaider for one glorious line. And I also helped out on the script for that as well, and was a consultant. So go check that out over at Monstrosities Tokusatsu vlog. Shout out to my good buddy Matt Briquette. Really great dude.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And everyone, thank you for listening. We'll be back in a couple weeks. Until then, take care of yourselves, take care of your friends. And remember, we're going to say this probably for the next few months. If you or anyone else needs help, call or text the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Have a great one, everybody.
And remember, folks, you are not alone.
All right, I'm going to stop recording. If you like what you just heard, find us at rangercast.net or look us up in your favorite podcast app. Reach out to us on Twitter or leave a voicemail on our website. The opening theme is by Daniel Park. The ending theme is by me. RangerCast is distributed under Creative Commons license. Attribute and share alike.